prominent youth influencers of today's Pakistan. Give it up for Fawad Khan.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, good morning. I was told there'll be more adults here than children and or people of my age, I consider actually. And I'm very happy to know that is not the case. You are just as much as children as I am. And well, I'm here today in front of you and we're gathered here in Student of Tomorrow, which is an initiative that was started by Beacon House in the year 2000. And limitations because of certain constraints and how fast-paced the world has become, we have to condense it into that. So why am I here today? I really don't know. The reason is, excuse my erring constantly because large crowds really make me very nervous. And I'm a terrible speaker, a terrible public speaker. But since I've been invited to touch upon certain dimensions involved in this 3-day conference, I'll be discussing the expressive future, or the form of artistic expression, which is available to you in various forms and ways today, and how that's impacting our lives, and how that will further impact our lives in the future, and how it's impacted our lives in the past. Art, science, history, and all the numerous subjects that you study in school today. I'm not going to say it for a fact, but with all the media that is available to you out there today, especially on the internet, with the ease at your fingertips, you'll come to realize that all of these branches of subjects and everything, up till 10,000 years ago, the first man was painting cave paintings inside a cave, has been from the birth of art. From an idea that is the human imagination, which later translates into these other subjects, even such as science or history. I mean, that's kind of weird to absorb, but in modern context, if I talk about films that have had a positive influence on the scientific research today or for the technological advancement, one such example would be Stanley Kubrick's Space Odyssey 2001, which kind of predicted the advent of tablet computing, computers, Siri, a speaking computer, which was seen as much as 2 decades ago, when it was not even, you could not perceive that was going to happen. So that is the kind of positive impact that that's had. But sadly, there have been other predictions as well. But that's the power of media, I feel. When we talk about the positive effects of art and its evolution, we come to something that I feel is the catalyst of good and bad reactions, especially in our day and age, with a term that was coined as early as 19th century called pop culture. What is pop culture? Pop culture is anything and everything that is available to us via mainstream media, something that changes, shapes our ideas every day, which includes film, TV, fashion, and in more modern context today, social media. So, what was the popular culture that I was growing up with? Surprisingly enough, actually, a lot of the curriculums that you study in school, that is also a result of pop culture. Today, your active discussions that go on in your classrooms, all of that is pop culture. And how does it impact us? I'm not going to talk about Israel or Palestine, though I will refer to an artist towards the end of this discussion, which I'd love for you guys to go and watch. He talked at TED Talks. His name's JR, he's a French artist. And how his work actually kind of influenced the regions where he went. And he said something which is very interesting, what I felt. Art was never really meant or was not created for the purpose of change. It may influence change, it may bring about change, or it may become a place where ideas take birth that can create that change. But like any other subject, it does not necessarily have to have a purpose. It's what you interpret. And that's why the interpretations of art are so open. So coming back to the subject of what pop culture and what we were growing up with, the kind of media that we were watching, the kind of influence that it had on our lives, was one such that is, I think, not just something that we feel here today, but in our neighboring country, India. I'm sure many of you people have grown up with the stigma, or if you have not, then I think you're very blessed, because now the horizons of your knowledge have been widened much more. But when I was growing up, the stigma of that is our enemy was kind of instilled in my mind. So maybe in a way that there is an uncomfortable tension between us. When I first went to India to shoot for my first film, although I do always profess and I also claim that I'm a man of of very few preconceived notions, in fact, maybe none as such. But there was still an itch in the back of my head that what if अगर मैं वहाँ पे जाके उतरूँ, मुझे थप्पड़ मार दे, कोई गाली नहीं डाल दे, कोई कुछ कह दे और says go back. What will happen then? Surprisingly enough, when I landed there, and in the course of time, when I visited over 14 cities during the first shoot and promotions of my film, I did not, surprisingly, according to what we had been growing up with, not encountered one such incident. Sitting at home, on your computers, on your phones, on your tablets, and learning about the world is very different from actually going out there and pursuing it yourself. And I guess that is the downside of pop culture. Because I heard from word of mouth, by the way, word of mouth is also pop culture. It's a Chinese whisper. There may be some truth to the rumors, and there may be no truth to the rumors. But that is for you to decide, for you to interpret. So when I went there, I realized how my direct interaction with those people kind of changed my perceptions. There's a lot of opinionated media out there today. You can't call it news because it's fact viewed from one side or from one perspective, or may state something which is not the complete truth, which is the half truth. And that is why we form those opinions. And again, coming back to the same thing, I know I start to ramble, I tend to ramble, but when I went there, that was the same thing that had been ingrained into us because of what we'd been thinking. The positive side of it was when I interacted, all of that perception changed. And that is probably the good side. If one person says that, you might say it's just a matter of coincidence, but when you hear that repeatedly, again and again after that, it kind of reaffirms your belief in how the positive side of pop culture can have such a great effect on interhuman relationships. Then there was the fiasco that has occurred in the past few days, and how there's been a lot of debate, a lot of, let's say, unpleasantness around a lot of issues, where I feel people such as you, educated individuals such as yourselves, I don't consider myself that educated, never that literate, not read many books in my life, but with my travels, that exposure has added to me. I feel we have certain opinions, and we are able to transmit those opinions over this popular medium known as the social media. This is just my personal experience with that. Seeing the effect of popular culture can be seen in today's elections. I don't know, the presidential elections. How many of you guys have actually followed that? Not many, right? Okay. But for people around the world, or especially Americans, that same popular culture has had quite an impact on their opinions. And you can see how within seconds, someone makes a statement. And that statement could be such as just uttering a phrase like, I think that idea of his is not conducive to the development, but then before they complete the sentence, 80% opinion has been formed that the person is not the right choice. So this fast exchange of ideas happening at such an accelerated rate does not allow us to actually absorb or reflect on the statement that people are actually about to give, because everything is so fast-paced today. And that actually kind of, let's say in a country whose population is in the millions, when you say the poll of a certain candidate goes down by 3% overnight, that's quite an impact that popular culture has on the informed decision of people. The point I'm trying to make is, where are we going with this expressive future? How can we benefit ourselves? And there are many ways of benefiting ourselves from it. And then there are also ways of actually creating distaste or creating, let's say, non-conducive relationships. But for an educated individual who has exposure, and the reason why I say all of this, I think there's always a point to what I'm saying, what I'm making here is, all of you guys here sitting today, with all the conveniences available to you, I would please ask you, and I would implore you to travel the world here. And pardon my French, get off your butt and get out in the world and see what it's all about. You'd be surprised, I saw in a skit online once where people who could not afford to take vacations would go to a photo studio, have a backdrop of the Eiffel Tower or something in the background, and have pictures taken against that, because they don't have the time to travel. I mean, that's just a skit, but it's an idea, again, of where we're going with this expressive future. Express kare, definitely, reach across all platforms, but then be well informed with it as well. And I feel art, in a lot of ways, has enabled us to be informed about many things. It has predated many, like I said earlier, scientific explorations. It has predated many concepts. It has created literature. It has created history. And you can benefit from that if you have an all-round perspective. And I think that is the kind of expressive future I would like you people to see and experience. With that, I think I'll let my wrap up come to an end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fawad, and I'm sure you really inspire them to look inwards for inspiration. Let me begin this talk by asking you, do you see yourself, because it's all about tomorrow, how tomorrow is going to shape up. Do you see yourself as a risk taker?
Not the best kind of risk taker. I mean, I don't think I've taken the worst kind of risks. But yeah, I do consider myself as somewhat of a risk taker. Something I had not mentioned about earlier on stage was the material, the films that I've done in the past. Is there a way I can actually hold it?
Yeah, you can hold it up and put it on your lap if you'd like. Yeah.
So,
it's a powerful mic, very expressive.
it's very expressive. The kind of material that the kind of movies, the kind of choices that I've made, probably starting from something like Khuda Ke Liye, which was about an individual getting radicalized and leaving his passion for music to pursue what he feels is the true path to God. That was one.
I think as we are trying to manage the audio a little better, let me expand upon that. The reason why I ask you whether or not you're a risk taker is I'd like to sort of run through the 5 dimensions of this conference. One of the areas we speak about is, of course, inclusivity, where it's important that everyone in the society has a voice. What I'm really interested in is when you pick up any subject or when you pick up a character and you agree to do a project, do you at times, does that thought run in your mind that that character or that story perhaps can offend certain segments in society? Like, for example, the radicalized version of you, did you think that, perhaps people would see it being painted the negative way and not associate with it?
Well, you see, the thing is, now the reason why I was mentioning that was that when I picked up such a role, it was not a character that was painted with a very broad brush.
Yeah.
It was a very individual experience. And I'm sure that when that movie sort of informs us,
Yeah.
can you guys hear me?
Why don't you switch off that mic and place this one on your lap, like me?
Can you hear? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes!
Yeah? Okay. Sorry, I didn't know that you were...
They'll make sure they hear you. They hear you better than their teachers in the class.
What I was saying was that in a movie like, for example, Khuda Ke Liye, that character is not the broad brush to paint the entire society. It is to highlight one such issue. It may not be the case for every such person out there in society that they're being radicalized by a certain medium or changing their choices, but it could be that there's just one such person out there.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming here for a second that that is how anyone would view it. I mean, you go in, you watch a movie, it has an impression on you. But that doesn't mean, like for example, when I was talking about movies predicting the future, when I was talking about art predicting the future, there was one such movie that came out years and years ago before the 9/11 attacks called The Siege.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen that movie? Very few people have seen it.
Very few.
Well, it came out in 1995. It's a very interesting thing how they show a massive terrorist attack on American soil in New York in a very similar way, except there were vans driving into the FBI building loaded with C4 explosives and explode the entire building. So you see, the thing is, if you watch a movie like that and you see how something happened when it happened, the unfortunate event of 9/11, you don't expect people to actually walk out of a movie theater thinking that this is what I'm going to go and do. That's the whole point of actually putting art out there. When I said art is not a purpose, does not have a purpose to change. It can influence change, but the way it influences change is also important. You know, result बहुत important है, the outcome is important, but how you get there is even more important.
See, another example of that could be when we talk about a balanced future, a balanced society of tomorrow. Of course, film and visual arts can be a very powerful agent there. But in the case of Pakistan, do you really feel that we're reaching the potential truly? Example being that when a movie is released in one of the good theaters, for a single person to go watch a movie, have a bag of popcorns, enjoy a can of soda, it usually costs you about 800 rupees to 1,000 rupees. So you're not really reaching the masses. How many in our society can afford that? So in the true sense of the economics of it, it seems that in Pakistan, the economics of film is reverse. Do you see that changing?
Well, hopefully that may change. I cannot really comment about the economics, you know what, because like I said, I'm very illiterate when it comes to these things. But I feel that for those who can't afford that form of viewing art, there are other forms out there as well. I mean, I don't think that there is
if we were to compare it with India, you would say that even a person who comes from a lower income bracket can afford that kind of luxury because they'll have matinee shows, they'll have a movie ticket available for $100. Whereas in Pakistan, you don't have that right now.
But
do you think
because the reason behind that also is the amount of entertainment available right now. How it is available, when it is available. In India, you have somewhere around 1,000 movies releasing a year. In Pakistan, you only have 40. So you have to understand that when there will be more cinemas, more theaters, more movies, the economics will automatically change.
Okay.
So that's a different forecast altogether. What I'm talking about here is, movies is not the only art form. It is not the only form of entertainment, and I'm saying that by, you know, at the risk of shooting myself in the foot, and you guys not going out there and saying कि फवाद ने कहा था कि यार फिल्में देखना सिर्फ ज़रूरी नहीं है, तो फिल्में देखनी नहीं चाहिए. ये देखो आप यार, go and watch movies. But then there are other things. You know, when was the last time you guys went to the zoo, to the museum? How is it? You know what? I was interestingly discussing this with my wife yesterday, and how the only two forms of entertainment right now, let's say in what I know of, what we friends, when we say we want to get together, is Friday nights, let's go out for dinner. Let's go out and watch a movie. What are you going to do this weekend? Let's go out and watch a movie. Let's catch dinner. There are festivities that happen in your school. You know, there are festivals. I remember when I was growing up, I was a student of LGS. Sorry, Beacon House. I don't need anyone offended.
You don't have to be sorry about your education, Fawad.
No, it's not about my education. I just don't want to spark a war here, LGS versus Beacon House. So, when I was growing up, we used to have a number of festivals in our school every year. You know, one such thing was, my principal was Umair Hashmi, one of the son-in-laws of Faiz Ahmed Faiz. And he was he was an admirer of German culture and everything. So he brought something like this thing called Frühlingfest. So Frühlingfest is German for Spring Festival.
Okay.
And it has a number of,
Facets to it.
Yeah, it has a number of entertainment areas in it, and things that you can do. German recipes you can learn. God knows what. He would say, bring anything and everything, research on German art and culture, bring in anything and everything that you can bring to the school. So that is an exposure. These places, these national monuments, they're an exposure. We're just failing to understand the importance of it because now we've been bogged down by this thing called a smartphone. Now I know I endorsed one such brand and it should be the last thing that I should be saying.
Everything that you say, you corner yourself.
I think we're all contradicting ourselves all the time. But that's only if you look at it like that. You know, if you start to say that this is the only way forward, then you'll be cornering yourself. But if you say that this is just one such accessory, then you will go out and enjoy the better things in life, which is not seeing what, let's say, India is, Israel is, or let's say what America is. Whatever you think very opposite about, once you go there, you might just have a different experience. Give it a chance. But sitting at home and indulging in this social media, where you can just find people to basically chime in on the same opinions that you have, that just makes all of that very inconvenient.
Okay, no pun intended, because we're talking about concepts for young people over here and they've been struggling or sort of trying to redefine dreams, inspiration, success. What is mushkil for you?
What is mushkil for me?
How would Fawad Khan say that this thing is mushkil, or this thing is a challenge, or this thing is difficult?
Well, it has to have a context. I mean, what is difficult for me?
Your heart has never said, "Ye dil hai mushkil."
My work is. Did Karan call you a pig or something? Are you trying to just plug that in here? I think anything I do, I feel is a challenge. You know, whatever I have attempted.
It excites you. A challenge excites you.
Challenges excite you, definitely, and some challenges might just put you off. But you see. But thank you. It's profound, but this is a reality. Challenges definitely excite you.
We understand the context of it.
The challenges excite you, and they should motivate you to attempt them. But it shouldn't be. I'm sorry, I used the wrong word. Should nahi hona chahiye. It may. And if you want to take up the challenge, take it up. But you see, the thing is, हमारे यहाँ क्या होता है? I feel that mostly we say that this is a challenge, that is a challenge, that is a challenge. Overcome all challenges.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a master of everything, and you don't have to attempt everything in life if you don't want to. And you might not even have to attempt one such thing in life that you're being told is, like for example, I'll
No
tell you.
compulsions. You're basically saying that you don't really have to have compulsions. Don't do it because other people tell you to do it.
Yeah, or there is a certain amount of, like I say again, this is pop culture as well. When it becomes popular that this industry is booming right now, so because I want to make money, I want to have...
Talk a little about, let's talk a little about digital future. So just as you pointed out, a lot of people are glued to the social media. Even right now, they're taking these videos. It's going to go up before you reach home. Some of it is going to get heavily criticized.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with criticism on social media where you don't have a face, people are sitting at homes and they have the liberty to say anything and everything to you? How do you grow that thick skin and continue moving and charging forward?
Well, Sidra, to be very honest, I think I'm the last candidate to be talking about this. The reason for that is, maybe I'm just very primitive, maybe I'm in the Stone Age. मेरा Twitter account, मेरा Facebook account, मेरा Instagram account, इसलिए बना because there were so many other imposters that we had to put out कि कोई ये बात ना कह दे और कल को ये ना कह दे कि फवाद ने ये बात कही थी. So just to escape impersonation, these accounts were created. I'm still learning because I'm viewing what is going on, and especially the past few weeks, I've had the chance to actually sit back and see what is going on out there on social media. How does it work? What is really happening? And how can I then later use it to my benefit? So I don't think I've learned to use it to my benefit. So when it comes to criticism...
Do you update yourself?
When it comes to criticism,
yeah.
That is why I guess I easily ignore it. It's hurtful, yes, but it's criticism at the end of the day. You know, someone had told me that there's a wall in Hyde Park in London, which is apparently where you go and...
There's a corner in Hyde Park.
Corner, that's the corner, right? Where you basically go and shout out whatever you want to say.
Say what you want.
So you've got a Hyde Park on the internet, that's called Twitter. And now you can say whatever you want to say, but then bear in mind, again, I tell you, this is what I believe. Again, it's an opinion, so you don't have to really believe it. But there is no absolute truth out there today. So if someone has expressed an opinion on Twitter, don't take it to heart, yeah, because it's not the be-all and end-all of your world. It's just an opinion, and let it remain at that. Don't let it incite any form of violence. Don't let it incite any form of hatred. कह दिया तो कह दिया यार, ठीक है, हो गया, leave it at that.
I think that's brilliant advice, because for a lot of these young people, it becomes very personal and they take it very personally, they feel insulted, they feel angry. Another area I sort of wanted to take you on with was, of course, popular culture. You spoke about it. It's evolving, it's changing. While the young people may get influenced very positively, the older generation at times see you and other popular icons to be redefining the norms of society. You know, for example, suddenly we become so cool where courtship is acceptable, dating is acceptable, romancing is acceptable.
Really?
Do you see that?
Seriously? Are you guys going to tell me you've not quoted anyone in your entire life? They're not even finding it funny. I must be wrong, and I must be in the wrong collection of people. No, I don't think I'm redefining any values. Here's another thing that is kind of my opinion, and I could be wrong, and I would love to be corrected if I'm wrong. But I don't think there's an invention of the wheel. There'll never be an invention of the wheel. It'll always be reinventing it. What we call redefining, we're not redefining, we're just rediscovering.
Right.
Because it's available to us more easily, and maybe people like me, who've not read so many books in life, we're not aware, we're not so which is again, you know, a great lesson to learn. Read as much as you can, guys. I swear to God, there's a habit that now has started picking up, and earlier it wasn't there. And I learned things through personal experience through life, more than actually reading about it, which is a slower way of getting there, but that doesn't mean it didn't exist before I discovered it. So it exists, you're not redefining, you're just rediscovering. And that's what I feel that we're doing with our medium. I don't know if I'm permitted to say this here, which may be a wrong thing, but a lot of things up till the 70s were viewed very differently in Pakistan. Now this is for something, again, I'm just putting a seed.
This is an observation.
It's an observation.
And I think a lot of people abide by that. They say that some sort of social engineering happened to us in the 80s and we started to look and think and feel about things differently. Again, because of that filter, and we are just a bundle of our own biases, what has happened is, of course, that you see a lot of taboo subjects come up. Fawad, you must be noticing that Ehsan Khan recently did a soap, a Pakistani drama. Yes, and the subject was child molestation.
Which is, I think it's a great thing to bring to forefront. Yeah, that is a very positive, very positive. My congratulations to them. And you know what is sad, what I feel extremely sad about, which is great that Udari is suddenly, you know,
sparked
debate, but also become a popular serial.
Exactly.
There was work that was happening. Frankly speaking, please, I don't mean this as an offense to the fraternity of the Pakistani media, but मुझे ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि जो सास बहू की बात हम 5 साल पहले, हम सफर से भी पहले 5 साल पहले कर रहे थे, वो हमने हम सफर में की, और उसके इट्स ग्रेट एंटरटेनमेंट, आपने एंजॉय किया, आपने बहुत इज्जत दी मुझे उसके लिए, वंडरफुल, तो फिर उसको इस तरह छोड़ दें, बट हम आगे डाइवर्सिफाई नहीं कर सके ना, कि हम मुख्तलिफ चीज़ें बनाते हैं, and when it comes, and things were made, you know, some really thought-provoking material was put out, but people never noticed it.
Yes.
So when an actor like Ehsan Khan, a mainstream actor like that, and other mainstream actors in Udari, you know, pick up a subject like that and bring it to the notice of people, that's what pop culture does for you. That's what mainstream media does for you. When you use it as a right reaction.
Not as edgy, Fawad, but your own character in Kapoor and Sons was sort of borderline on an area where people thought it is going to be edgy. It could have backfired. People could have, you know, reacted negatively. Were you scared about that when you were taking it out?
What is edgy?
Edgy is something that can be double-edged, something that can go either ways.
How can a human be edgy? How can a certain character, a certain trait in a personality be edgy?
You were
unless
scared.
it's something like, unless it's actually like a knife or a gun. You see, here's my thing, and this is what was happening while we were shooting The Boring Sons, interestingly enough. The new LGBT law had been passed in the United States of America,
Yes.
which permitted marriages of the same sex, which permitted this inclusion of this क्या कहते हैं उसको, what can we say, the
Of all
exiled
segments of
society.
society.
Yeah, that had been exiled, the concept had been exiled.
Exactly.
And was not accepted. So they permitted that. And then this debate started on social media in Pakistan, where people would put a comical statement such as
Derogatory and comical.
well, derogatory. See, now this is again. I'm sure you'll touch upon this in one of the other dimensions when you
Yes.
talk about freedom of speech and how far should freedom of speech be permitted to go. And if we talk about freedom of speech, then there should be no limits, no boundaries. Then in that case, no one should be offended by anything. अगर आपको हक है कुछ कहने का, तो फिर किसी और को भी हक है कुछ कहने का.
Okay.
So, one part would say God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and there was just this whole nonsense. Well, this is what I think. Again, someone was getting a good laugh out of it, which is fine. You had a laugh out of it, fine. You let it go with that. But then it became the center of our discourse, everyday discourse, where something was not yet not even introduced into our society. And people started talking about cultures. They started talking about what was going on in other countries, what was happening in Germany. I mean, I'm not going to say all of those things because I've told, like I say, that your educators are probably going to ban me from ever talking in front of you if I touch too many sensitive areas. But things going on in Germany, things going on in the US, in the UK, everywhere. Whereas, you know how sad it would be if those people had actually never been there and just sat there and commented about everything that they presume to know because of, I say, the negative aspect of pop culture, which doesn't allow you to explore the world or to understand it. The point I'm trying to make here is, this debate started, and I was shooting this film. And to be very honest, I was like, yeah, I'm just making a movie about, I'm working in a movie which is about a family which is broken apart and it's coming together. And there are different elements in the family. So, I thought, yeah, when this movie comes out, then probably, it'll be very disappointing to see the same kind of reaction. But interestingly enough, Sidra, it's like I said, you said the result and outcome does matter, but more importantly, always matters how you get there. So when the movie came out, the response was overwhelming, not just in India. And when we say, a certain few people, they say that we're all very narrow-minded. I was, and I may have been of that opinion as well, that we would not be accepting that. But in Pakistan, it was just an equally overwhelming response and reaction. I love that I got from the audience.
I think it was a fantastic movie, and I really loved your character.
Thank you.
But what about the future characters? I mean, deciding factors. You as a parent, does that come into context? For example, now when you look at a character that, for example, requires romancing scenes or intimacy on screen, and you're a parent, does that at times ride the decision?
Well, that would, now you're turning into a tabloid paper.
Ah.
How do you,
I'm refraining from words
scenes?
like edgy and sensitive, but it's what people want to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, intimate scenes is something.
No, just
So
as a
who's a-
parent. I mean,
No,
again,
as a
because you said
parent.
you're
No,
not
no.
discovering the
No, I'm
the
not going to say just as a
morals.
parent
Yeah.
because I think then that would be hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Because I'm just doing everything as a parent.
Okay.
No, I'm not. It would be a lie for me to say that. Because this is my work. This does give me my bread and butter. So I do have to look eventually at where I can find, where I can strike the balance, where I can do what I want to do, and yet at the same time be able to put it out so that I can earn my bread and butter.
And be proud of it years down the
I'll be
line.
proud of it years down. So this was my take on intimacy. This was my take on intimacy a year ago, 2 years ago. There are many movies that I...
Would you be more comfortable with the other mic? Yeah? Okay. Afterthought.
Hello. Okay. So, we talked about intimacy.
Yeah.
So I was asked this question a year or 2 years ago, and this was my answer to some journalists when they were asking these questions. Would you ever? I had learned a very interesting thing from from a girl that is generally very crazy, but sometimes she makes a lot of sense. In fact, a lot of the times when we've had conversations, I found a lot of sense in what she says. A co-actor that I work with, Sonam Kapoor, and she. I'm talking about the subject of intimacy. I'm not talking about intimacy with a co-actor.
People just woke up when you said Sonam Kapoor.
So what she said to me was, Fawad, always, and I think it was just, this was, I didn't provoke it, but she said it, and I didn't provoke it, but she said, Fawad, never say never. And that's you actually what that is, not just with regards to intimacy, with regards to, let's say, something as mundane as seafood. Some people say they'll never try sushi. I thought I'd never try sushi, and now I think it's one of my most favorite foods. Point being that when the subject then came up in an interview, and someone asked me, what about intimate scenes? I said, well, right now, to be very honest, the audience that I cater to, which is a massive audience, which is mostly a television audience, and cinema being now, for our generation, a relatively newer, local cinema being a relatively newer concept, would not be so comfortable when coming in with their families and watching this on screen. So I feel that there are some great stories I'd like to tell, be it Khuda Ke, be it Dastan, be it even something as a rural comedy about a complete, oaf, Akbari Asgari, or for that matter, a movie like Kapoor and Sons. Something which is thought-provoking every time, but I'm able to convey the story because I'm not sitting there offending someone. So they're able to listen to me more carefully. Regarding physical intimacy in grown-ups, when your children come and ask you, when they'll come and ask you about the birds and the bees someday, and you need to know how you approach that. And that's something that I'm learning every day, but I'm trying to do that without offending the people that are around you, or the ones that matter the most to me. I cannot keep everyone happy, but I can definitely try to keep some people happy.
You're not biryani, you can't make everyone happy.
We love you, Fawad! We love you!
But, we have about the last 5 to 6 minutes. I'm not sure if we can open the floor for questions. We're definitely not doing that. But if you have some pulsating questions, you may send it up as a written note to me and I'll try to accommodate them here. One of the things I wanted to ask you, does a Pakistani drama still excite you, or would you be worried about how it does in terms of ratings and how it's received by the audience now?
You see, every actor, every artist, especially in this age of patronized art, which is not provoked by just simply by thought, but is actually put into some amount of engineering and processing. What I mean to say is, the example I gave of a French artist, I'd love you to actually go and see his work, and the speech, the keynote speech, compared to what I have done, is actually, those are golden words, what he's actually done on TED Talks. He talks about something very amazing. Can I just briefly tell you about this project?
Yes, please.
So this guy is basically an art, he installs art on buildings as graffiti. Installs life-size pictures, building-size pictures, portraits of people all around the world. And his works have been put up even in America, even in England, in France, and then in some developing areas of South America, the favelas, and in Africa, and in India. And you have to see how it is actually sort of motivated the change. I'm not going to talk about it at length. You have to see it yourself. If you guys can note it down. And this is again, you see, I see the good side of pop culture. Go on YouTube and you can search this guy. JR is the guy's name, and he's talked at TED Talks. And this is a very interesting thing that he's done with his art. I kind of strayed away. You were saying we were talking about
The Pakistani dramas.
the Pakistani dramas.
They still excite you.
So, when I was saying, the point I came to that was because I feel that a lot of our work is brought about by sitting in a room, coming with an idea that will sell to the audience. And seldom do we think why not try to create a new idea that might sell to the audience? And again, I'll compliment the makers of Budari who've done that. So when someone asks me, will you get back into dramas? I've got nothing against dramas. Why would I? I mean, it's given me the respect that I initially started out with before I got into movies. The reason why I sort of moved away from it was because, frankly speaking, I just didn't want to repeat the same thing again and again and again and again. I felt things were not becoming different.
Yeah.
So now, if something comes to me, or if I'm able to create something or manufacture something, which is, in my thought, something like have you guys seen Fargo? No one's seen Fargo?
Yes.
Why do you sound so bored? So I mean, something like that, something like True Detective, or maybe something
Do we have
like
appetite for
Stranger
that
Things.
in Pakistan? Do we have appetite for that kind of a subject?
Why
in
not? I
Pakistan?
think we have, you know. It's, again, like I said, we can delve into fictional subjects. We can delve into various subjects, but going into something socially relevant first would be probably more relevant at first. And I'd love to do that. Something that may be socially relevant, but could be portrayed in a way that is very, you know, that keeps your eye. You keep on watching. So in that case, yeah, I'd like to come back to dramas if that opportunity presents itself to me.
So, final two questions. Do you think you're superstitious? Anything that you must do before you consider a project to be a go area? Don't sign a contract on Tuesdays. Always wear my favorite bracelet before I do that. Anything of that sort?
No, that's not. You don't need to count that. That's not my lucky bracelet. I'm just kidding. Just wear it.
I just picked it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Or a lucky color?
no. No.
Nothing.
I mean,
Who's your good luck charm? Maybe a family member, your
you see, the
son?
thing is that to blame something on someone else or some thing or attribute success to that kind of holds back the potential that you have in yourself, don't you think?
Yes.
Brilliantly put.
So I think that is where superstition sort of takes away from
From your own talent.
potential, from your capabilities, something that you may not know about yourself, but you feel that if I do that, I might just end up, you know, in a bad situation, or that may be bad luck. I mean, losses and gains are a part of life. There'll be ups and downs. There was a time when you just didn't even exist, yeah, and you were a probability before you came into existence as well. So, इससे बड़ा chance अगर आपने जिंदगी में लिया है coming into the world, then how can you put the rest of chances on inanimate objects? I mean, you are also just a product of chance.
My last question to you, Fawad. Everyone who is in this world has the responsibility to sort of look at their legacy. What is it that they're going to leave behind? Once it's all going to end, when people are no more gushing you for selfies, I hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. But when and if it does, how do you want people to remember you? What is it that Fawad Khan's legacy is going to be?
You know what? I think I have not come to that conclusion yet.
Uh-huh.
I'm still
No
trying
tomorrow?
to figure it out. Not really, Sidra. I'll tell you why. We all come here, we play a part, and we leave. And we'd like to have an everlasting impact on
Yes.
someone else's life. But if someone doesn't, and again, this is in context to something that happened recently, and if someone does not offer his congratulations or condolences to you in your bad times and in your good times, it does not make the person bad. If they don't remember you as the person who left that behind. Sure, it's great. It's a byproduct, I think. If someone would remember that, yeah, Fawad did this when you were there. But अगर मुझे कोई याद नहीं रखेगा, हाँ ठीक है, you know, मेरी शायद रूह को दुख पहुँचे and all that, but you don't owe that to me. So that is why I guess I've never really thought about it. That am I leaving behind a legacy? Because if you actually start thinking today, you get up and you say, yeah, I'm going to do this because I want to be remembered for this, then that is all your pursuit in life is ever going to be.
Yeah.
Just be as much as a material remembrance, maybe on a tombstone, maybe in a footnote in a book. But I think that if you're really looking for something great, pursue it for what it is. Pursue it for what you love. What really brings you joy. And I guess that will be probably a bigger legacy that you'll leave behind unintentionally.
Thank you so much, Fawad. It was a pleasure working with you. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request just a minute of silence maybe. May I request the Chief Executive Officer of Beacon House School System, Mr. Qasim Kasuri, to please join us up on stage and present a memento of appreciation and gratitude to our guest speaker, Fawad Khan.
Thank you so much for being such a lovely audience. Pika, finger क्या? Sing a song. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you down on that one, yeah. I swear to God, because I didn't come prepared. I don't have any song in my head right now. But I promise. All you guys here from Beacon House today? You mean there's no other student in this town that wanted to come and hear me? Other than Beacon House, then Beacon House is my favorite school now. So I will come and definitely, and I'm telling you, maybe there's a very big probability that I'm getting back into music. So maybe by the end of this year, I'll be there next school and I'll come